The concerns from politicians always seem to revolve around our best interests and our safety. But is it really more about them maintaining their control? Under the guise of governing the people and doing what's right for the common good. Anyways, yeah, I don't believe in any of that shit. This article also makes references to the war that is currently going on between Hamas and Israel, and of course, this is not a political channel. I don't give a shit. The reality is that everybody's wrong. War is crap for everyone. Okay, and you don't have to pick a side. Everybody can be equally wrong in some way. It's okay. It's just part of it. Anyways, the real key to this, though, the real key is what the information is being used for. In war, the Greek poet Aeschylus said, "The first casualty is truth." In the United States, we're seeing the demonization of and crackdown on cryptocurrencies and stablecoins like Bitcoin and Tether. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren stirred crypto-skeptic politicians in Washington into a frenzy last month, alleging that Hamas funded its heinous attacks on Israeli civilians with cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin. That's right. Nothing's better than using a transparent ledger so everyone can watch where you're sending the money back and forth from. It's so good. Again, it just goes to show how these people don't know shit about Bitcoin, and they just want to figure out a way to demonize it so that they can push their agenda of power and control. Warren penned a letter with 28 other senators and 76 House members demanding answers on the alleged $130 million in crypto used by Hamas, relying on the Wall Street Journal's story. Just days after publishing its expose, the journal was forced to correct its report. Oh my gosh, what a shock. After a simple analysis revealed that the multi-million figures were wrong. No way. Strange. Evidence produced by the blockchain analytics firm Elliptic showed most of these funds were not sitting in Hamas-linked accounts, but were likely brokerage and crypto exchange accounts where the funds originated. If Hamas and its agents were legally able to acquire thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, not to mention hundreds of millions worth, any user of a block explorer would easily have detected this. And that is correct. There are many people, like, we're not even talking about the companies like Chainalysis that are paid to do this. There are individuals, right, that spend their time often looking at what may seem to be large transactions or seemingly suspicious, right? And that is just saying that it is an opinion, right? Because you don't know that these transactions are actually suspicious. But it's just very interesting, right, that when you don't understand Bitcoin, you think that by accusing it of everything, you can actually get something to stick. But you need to actually understand it, and you need to know that everybody can look at the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. So it's just funny. I always just picture, these politicians screaming about how terrible Bitcoin is, and then they don't actually realize that it's more transparent than the shitty banking system that they're all being paid by. In fact, Hamas militants reportedly stopped accepting cryptocurrency donations once they realized how quickly those transactions would be flagged and ultimately halted by Israeli authorities. Oh my gosh, so it looks like they figured it out. The same cannot be said for the rumored billions of dollars held by Hamas operatives, and here's the signal, guys, in traditional bank accounts in countries throughout the world. And that's right. As we have shown time and time again, the biggest launderers of money are not the little crypto dudes. They're not the little Bitcoin bros, okay? It's the financial institutions, the HSBCs, the Wells Fargos. These are the companies, Standard Charter, right? You just keep digging in and you'll notice. And of course, I know it sounds crazy, right? Who would believe that the corporations that have the rails to move the most money and help validate and implement the rules for money transfer, who would think that they could be responsible for the most and the majority of money laundering? I know it just sounds crazy, and we sound insane saying it, With billions of dollars in Hamas funding in the global banking system and perhaps just a few thousand in various cryptocurrency wallets, one would think that political ire would be raised at banks that have aided and abetted Hamas funding. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to go after banks, right? A lot of times they fund your local baseball team, maybe your local soccer team, right? They help. They do charitable events, right, for the different towns that they're in. See, this is kind of the problem, right? Because banks are able to make donations to certain politicians, right? And it's not just banks, it's all corporations, right? They can lobby these politicians. So you're obviously not going to bite the hand that feeds, right? You're not going to take away funding from the local sports teams and stuff like that. So you're not going to go against the banks. You're not going to argue with them with what they're doing because guess what? Banks are a net positive. Sure, they may allow some bad things to happen. Indeed, their rules aren't perfect, but they're a net positive. Now, if that sounds like a grift, that's because you've most likely been paying attention to this channel for a while. But not only that, you've probably been in Bitcoin for a while, and you know that the net positive grift is total nonsense. Okay, and this is the majority of the structures that we have in society pretty much bank on everybody believing in the net positive grift. It's okay that we do bad shit because we also do this good shit. Warren and her anti-innovation colleagues continue to cite this fake news in their efforts to make open blockchain technology inaccessible to American consumers. Many American progressive legislators are getting hoodwinked into banning or restricting a technology that offers tremendous social benefits. Rather than embrace the positive effects such as technologies could have on American society, too many tech-skeptical politicians are hooked on fake news and unable to resist advancing their goal of banning cryptocurrency for Americans. For Warren, it was never about Hamas's barbaric attack on Israel. It was about seizing an opportunity for more control regardless of truth. I know that a lot of times, right, people like to blame individuals, right, because it is individuals and our incentives. But the reality is that in this case, it's not just about Elizabeth Warren, right? It's not an attack on her. It really what it is we're trying to bring to light, we're trying to bring focus the fact that nobody is better than their incentives. And the reality is that with Bitcoin, there is a certain amount of loss of control that occurs by the government, because the reality is that the government can't control Bitcoin. It can't control its issuance. It can't even control any of the transactions on the network. The truth is they have to demonize it as much as possible. All right, we've got so this is a video from last year. Okay. And Elizabeth Warren's being interviewed here on Meet the Press. And it's very interesting what she says about CBDCs, right? Especially after we just take a look at that article that we just read that shows without a doubt that politicians are using fake news, okay, that's unverified in order to push their agenda of control and misinformation. So let's take a listen here at how Elizabeth Warren feels about CBDCs.
Wrong. If you think we could improve that in a digital world, the answer is sure you could. But in that case, let's do a central bank digital currency.
Are you there?
Oh, for a central bank digital currency? Yeah. Yes. I think it's time for us to move in that direction.
So essentially, because the thing is, when you look at every...
That's right, guys. It's time to be able to restrict your purchases based off of relevant metrics that some weird boogeyman figured out. That's a good idea. Okay. Anyways, so look, that was 2022. Elizabeth Warren, and regardless of her, it doesn't make a difference. Any politician that is for a central bank digital currency is an enemy of freedom. I mean, plain and simple, right? The reality is that there's already a certain amount of tracking that goes on in our system. We don't even have a CBDC. A CBDC would just simply allow further encroachment upon our freedoms under the guise of security, right? Under the guise of security. But then the worst part is that they can tack on a whole bunch of other crap, right? Like the whole saving the planet stuff, the climate crisis and stuff like that. You know, if you It just so happens that you bought something that was made of like too much plastic. All of a sudden, your score goes down and now you can't travel as far next week or some psychotic BS like this. Look, I mentioned last week, I think it was a tweet from Sly Goomba that said, the Then They Fight You stage ended in 2013. I still tend to disagree with that. I think that we are really just about to enter the crux of the Then They Fight You stage, because keep in mind, and I know that this doesn't really matter to a lot of people, but Bitcoin's fiat exchange has not the market cap, right? The market cap of Bitcoin has not surpassed gold yet. And I know like people sit there and be like, well, that doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? It's psychological, people. It's psychological. Like, you got to remember the majority of the money right now that is held by the world is not being held by Zoomers and millennials, or people or Gen Xers, really. Like, the majority of the wealth of the world is still held by boomers. Anyways, guys, yeah, I still think we're definitely in the Then They Fight You stage. We are still in the thick of it. I do believe that it unfortunately does get worse as essentially as Bitcoin continues to disrupt not just the financial world, but the political world as well. Guys, let me know what you think. Do you think we're still in the Then They Fight You stage? And are we at the beginning of it? Are we like in the middle of it? Anyways, let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Help us grow the channel, and I'm going to catch you all tomorrow.